Alright, how's it going, guys? We're all back as I am doing another reaction video. Finally, I know I've been gone for a while. Mainly, what I've been doing is playing a lot of the newest Fate video game, which, by the way, if you haven't watched any of my Let's Play of that, go ahead and please look that in. That's on my channel. I've got a whole playlist going. I'm currently on part 5 of it, so the next one will be part 6. And basically what I do is I live stream myself because I'm just like, fuck it, I just want to record literally my entire first playthrough of the game. I want to have my entire first playthrough of the game archived on YouTube because, you know, YouTube offers free unlimited storage of videos, so might as well take advantage. Anyway, so if you're fellow Fate fans, which, by the way, if you're watching this reaction video, you most likely are, please check that out and, you know, watch me, and also please join my live stream next time I go live and get my chat and all that good stuff. Anyway, for this video, we're watching Tsiah 4. I'm really bad with fucking Roman numerals. So, whatever, we're watching Tsiah talk about Charlemagne's Paladins, so let's check that out.
So I will admit that this is something that has crossed my mind before, but honestly, I feel like it's too early to say. We got the patron request from Drax. He says, I was wondering if you could do a video on the 12 Paladins of Charlemagne and exactly how strong each of the currently known members are. Maybe in a similar format to your How Strong videos. And you guys know I've done the Bhima, Duryodhana, Kali a while back. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure you sign up for the Patreon. You get access to early content and priority on your requests. So going a bit deeper into what he was asking, he says that he believes that Astolfo is on par with Gareth, Bradamante is on par with Mordred, Charlemagne is on par with King Arthur, and Roland is on par with either Gawain or Lancelot. And these are just some rough estimates that he's made. I pretty much agree. I don't think that's far off, but we can look anyway. What I want to say first about the Knights of the Round Table versus the 12 Paladins of Charlemagne is that, well, we already know that the Knights of the Round are largely more popular because they just caught greater wind in terms of mythology. The Paladins are in respects just as good, but a lot of people don't think about them because they think about the matter of Britain first instead of the matter of France. Not only that, but the Knights of the Round Table,
Let's just be honest, it's always France just fucking catching L's, alright? France is catching L's every which way. Even though France has definitely an interesting mythology and history, as well as the fact that I will give the French this, they are the absolute best at protesting, right? Like, when it comes to protesting and, you know, revolutions, the French are the absolute best. They are the absolute legends and kings of protesting and revolutions. So I will give them that.
are a lot more convoluted in terms of scaling based on the feats and the statements that we have. On the Knights of the Round, you got like 4 people fighting for first place, whereas with the Paladins, Charlemagne is always the de facto one that's at the top. And especially in the Fate verse, considering his feats so far, his noble phantasm itself embodying the rest of his group, and then him beating his counterpart Charles the Great in Extella, there's not even a need for comparison. But when it comes to the Fate verse of the people that we have for the rest of his group, it's harder to say because they very seldom get any type of spotlight at all. And if they do, it's not that much. So looking at the original 12 Paladins, you have Ansace, you have Berenger, Angular, Gerard, Gerer, Oliver, Odin, Roland, I'm sure everybody already knows of Roland, Samson, Ivoire, and Yvonne. A part of me wants to do it based on the survival, meaning how long they were able to last, but this also wouldn't be accurate considering, you know, there's a time and a place for everything, and we don't know if somebody just got caught off guard or what. I mean, if we were going by that logic, that means Mordred would be top 3. So I know I can't do that either. The closest thing I can can do is base it off the body count, that being how many people they were able to take down, and especially if those people were noteworthy. So on a head count, by far you got Roland coming in at first, which should have been pretty apparent. He is prominent enough to have his own epic, and he's taken out a ton of people. He was the last person to survive. He didn't have a wound when he fell, and technically he was the one that took himself out. He had a hemorrhage from when he blew his horn 3 times. So they didn't even kill him. Wherever you look, I'm saying this dude is like French Heracles, French Achilles, Ku Cullen, whoever it is. And that's before the fact that you get to he's the wielder of Durandal. And we already know Durandal is a practical near equivalent to Excalibur. So on the head count, and I'll more than likely just throw these up on the screen so everybody can follow. As far as Ivoire and Yvonne goes, they both have no notable kills. And what's even more than that is that they were both taken out by the same person. So the same way that the Paladins are counterparts to the Knights of the Round, the Paladins also had the Saracen counterparts, the Moorish counterparts. So they had counterparts to their people as well. And one of the Saracens took out the both of them. Now, I'm not going to say that they're weak from that. Again, it could have just been the circumstance, but I would beg to argue that they're at least not that great. As a matter of fact, considering that they're parallel stories, it sounds exactly like when Lancelot took out Gareth and Gaheris. Plus, like I said, no kills. So we'll put them on the lower half of the spectrum. Samson, he was a duke. He did have a kill. So for now, we'll put Samson mid tier. Odin has one notable kill. Not that much information on how he went down. That's fair. We'll leave a mid tier. Oliver is in fact Roland's right hand. He's actually really nice. He has 3 notable heads. He actually avenged one of the Paladins when they fell, and that was Ingela. And then the last person that he took out was the same one that got him. So essentially it was a double KO. So by that we can put Oliver towards the top. Gera has 1 notable body, mid tier. Gerard, again, Gerard was actually taken out by the same person that took down Yvonne and Ivoire. So he falls in that category of not only lacking the notable kills to speak of, but he also let one person take him out in multiples. So we'll put him on the lower end. For Angela, he actually has 2 bodies, so that definitely could work him well up to the higher end of the spectrum. You got Berenger. He actually took out one of the 12 Paladin counterparts. We'll leave him in the middle. And then for Iron Sace, they have 1 major head. Again, somewhere in the middle. To couple with everything that I mentioned so far, you also have to account for the fact that Fate didn't exactly use the original lineup for the Paladins. So you got a lot of people that have been switched out that also appeared in the myths, but they weren't typically a first choice. People like Astolfo isn't a part of the original 12, but he is in Fate. Bradamante, Archbishop Turpin, who is actually the same person that avenged Einsace. So we know that he at least has a body. And then there's Ronaldo, who is Bradamante's older brother. Fate-wise, he's said to be an amazing swordsman, and he has a magic sword himself. So based on everything we went over so far, and again, I do largely agree with his opening statement. After Charlemagne, of course, we're going to say Roland, Oliver, Ronaldo, Bradamante, Ingela, Astolfo, Archbishop Turpin, Berenger, Einsace, Gerard, Gerer, Odin, Samson, and then Ivoire and Yvonne, roughly somewhere in between there. And you can pretty much map out who they would equal to in terms of number. I put my list out years ago, so everybody already knows what I think. And even me, I had to move my list around because I had people like Percival on the lower end, and then Lost on Harryard comes out after the fact, and they was like, oh nah, Percival won 3 Grail Wars. I'm like, what? So this is easily subject to change depending on what Nasu tends to do with these characters, if he brings them all in to begin with, because we already know that there may be some replacements considering, you know, people like Astolfo being present. So we'll just have to see. I mean, we can easily use the Extraverse, the Extella series, and just have a follow-up to that where they bring in the rest of the Paladins. You already have the base with Charlemagne, and that way it's not getting in the way of anything else. else. But unfortunately, what's much more likely is if they do a follow-up Extella game, we'd get 2 Paladins max, and then they bring back a bunch of old fan favorites because people aren't gonna pick up the game unless their favorites are in it, and maybe, just maybe, they might look to the side and realize there are other people in this world besides the ones that you like, you dick riding bastard. But at this point, either one is just hopeful wishing. We need that, and we need it immediately.
Okay, well, that was that. So, yeah, what do I think? I think that he was pretty much right, and that the 12 Paladins of Charlemagne, especially when you bring in like characters like Astolfo and stuff like that, especially when you do like, especially when you use the Nasu logic of the 12 Paladins of Charlemagne, can also include ones that were added later through myths and plays and stuff like that that just got attached to Charlemagne. Because Astolfo, as he said multiple times, was not a part of the original lineup. Astolfo was a completely fictitious character created for a play based around and mythologizing around the King Charlemagne. And that's what makes Astolfo like kind of like a tragic character, is the fact that Astolfo, through the knowledge of the Grail, knows that he's fake. Like, knows that he is absolutely fake and never actually existed, right? Astolfo doesn't show it, right? But that's why if you do play Fate Extra, Astolfo like will go up to the younger version of Charlemagne, and call him king, and that younger version of Charlemagne will respond as, "Hey, Astolfo, one of my paladins," because that younger version of Charlemagne is the fictitious one, is the one made up of the mythology of Charlemagne. Whereas the older, wizened guy with the beard and everything, that's the actual historical Charlemagne. And so he doesn't recognize Astolfo as one of his paladins because of the fact that he wasn't. Astolfo was never a paladin. He's like completely fictitious character, and the older version of Charlemagne, the historical one, knows that for a fact and does not recognize Astolfo as one of his paladins at all. But of course, the fictitious younger version, the saber version of Charlemagne, does, because he's the physical, avatar of the fictitious mythologies we've made of Charlemagne through the centuries after his death. But so yeah, and I do like the fact that he pointed out that the 12 paladins, especially when you allow for the mythological paladins, they are comparable to the Knights of the Round Table. Especially in the fact that people don't know this, because people think, when they think of the Knights of the Round Table, they think of the legendary Knights of the Round Table that were there during the Battle of Camelon. But there were many Knights of the Round Table before that. So, and obviously we don't know about them much because they weren't really all that famous in their own right. And they didn't last all that long, especially when you take into consideration the official Knights of the Round Table. These were people who were knighted that died to King Arthur's uncle. So, obviously, when it comes to fate, we think of, you can summon any Knight of the Round Table and they can take on anyone. No. That may be true for the top ones, like Lancelot and, Mordred and the legendary ones. But if you were to summon a less famous version of someone of the Round Table, because that's the thing, is if you have a piece of wood from the actual Round Table, that is a catalyst to summon any of the Knights of the Round Table, including the less famous ones. So you might get fucked. Let's be honest. You might get royally screwed by summoning a, let's be honest, weaker Knight of the Round Table. I mean, they're still a knight of the round table, so they would still be a servant in that aspect, because anyone who served under the knight of the round table, you know, is a legend in their own right. But unless you get Lancelot, unless you get Mordred, unless you get Percival, the legend, the absolute top of that peak, you're probably gonna get like the scraps off the table, the lesser known knights who weren't as powerful. So before you judge and go, "Oh, look at that list! There was a bunch of people on there who were very weak as paladins." Before you judge the 12 paladins of Charlemagne, and look at them as like jokes, I want you to look in the mirror and realize that there were some jokey ass, weak ass. Let's be honest, weak in comparison to the legends of the Round Table. Not everyone on the not everyone who served on the Round Table was an absolute unit. All right, again, you got your Lancelots, you got your Percivals, you have the legends, and then you have the scraps that I let. Because here's the thing: if I were to ask you to name me every knight of the Round Table, and your list ends with like Gawain or something, or Gareth, you're wrong. There are far, far more Knights of the Round Table than you could ever possibly expect. And the reason why you don't know their names is, again, for a reason. Because they did not do anything of note other than literally serve as a Knight of the Round Table. Other than serving as a Knight of the Round Table and dying to King Arthur's uncle, or dying in another aspect, or abandoning the post and running away, which there was a knight that did that, they are not, they are not famous. But again, they are a Knight of the Round Table, thus their spirit would respond to the call of the Round Table if used as a catalyst. Because they were. Factually, in all fact, they were a Knight of the Round Table. Powerful or weak, doesn't matter. They were a official knight, and thus when the catalyst calls for the Knights of the Round Table, even the weak ones would respond. Though they would immediately get crushed, because again, there are Knights on the Round Table that would basically look at Kuka Lane and immediately die of a heart attack of going, "I can't do anything against this guy." So again, before you judge the 12 paladins of Charlemagne and go, "Look at those weak ass bastards," look in the mirror and realize that there are some Knights of the Round Table that are exactly the same way. Uh, so that's again why I agree with him that the 12 paladins of Charlemagne are a really equivalent bunch to the Knights of the Round Table, in the fact that not every single one of them was a hit. Not every single one of them was a legend. Right? You have your Lancelots, which would be the equivalent of Roland. So you have your absolute legends at the top of the mountain, but you also have the more base of the mountain. You have your wheat. You don't have, like, not everyone's a chaff. You have your wheats, right? And so both groups, the 12 Paladins of Charlemagne and the Knights of the Round Table, they have their strong guys and they also have their weak ones. So not everyone's a winner. Not everyone's a champion. So that's the thing. But yeah, I do appreciate that video, and because of fate, I became a fan of Charlemagne, and yeah, honestly, if you can summon any version of Charlemagne, honestly, it would be the younger version, mainly due to the fact that mythology will always beat out reality, because of the fact that mythology is not limited by the factors of reality. So the real Charlemagne is great and has a super powerful noble phantasm, to be sure, but the younger version, his noble phantasm, is not to ever be underestimated, because he has access to legendary weapons that more than likely never existed, but only existed in humans' myth and imagination. And again, as we all know, imagination has no limits. Human imagination can go farther than all of reality. In human imagination, we can make up stories of vehicles of vehicles traveling faster than the speed of light, even though that is physically impossible. It is physically impossible for any object to travel faster than the speed of light, but in the human imagination, we can easily say, no, I'm going to animate a vehicle in this anime series or whatever that does travel 2, 3, 4, 50 times faster than the speed of light, because that's human imagination. And that's what the younger version of Charlemagne does. The Saber version of Charlemagne does. The Saber version of Charlemagne has access to the weapons of human imagination, and thus, if given the choice, I would summon him over the more historical version of Charlemagne, because what he can do with his noble phantasm is far and above and beyond what the real version could do. Because the real version is limited to what Charlemagne actually did versus what Charlemagne could do in imagination. So, yeah. In either case, thank you guys for watching the video. I will see you guys next time.